Good afternoon. Thanks for everyone that's joining us today at this afternoon's presentation on sustainable cities and communities. We have 4 presenters today who will be speaking shortly. Just some housekeeping items. I would just remind everyone, if you're not presenting or asking questions, if you could please silence your microphone and turn the camera off so we can preserve bandwidth. And we'll kind of just go from there. We'll go ahead and kick things off. So we'll be going in alphabetical order. We have Tammy Cassani with Dawning Family Centers joining us today, followed by Chelsea Coombs from Center for Women, Nathan Gula from Metropolitan Ministries, and then lastly we have Callie Lupica from Habitat for Humanity. So those will be our presenters today. I appreciate your time. So to go ahead and start things off, we have Tammy from Dawning Family Center, who will be kicking the presentation off. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tammy Cassani with Dawning Family Services. I thought I would give you some information about myself and then talk about the agency. So my background is in social work. I have both my BSW and MSW in social work, and I did the macro concentration because I wanted to do more administrative and management than the clinical aspects of social work. I am currently work at Dawning Family Services, and I have been there for 6 years now. So we are a smaller nonprofit in Hillsborough County that works with families that are at risk of or experiencing homelessness. So there's 4 major programs that we have, and I'll explain a little about each. We have our emergency shelter, which is for families that are literally homeless, meaning that they're in places that aren't meant for habitation, such as cars, parks, storage units. And it is a short-term emergency shelter stay where we really work with the families to get them into permanent housing with the philosophy that for a family to be able to stabilize, they need their basic needs met. So the push is to move them out in a period of 60 days into permanent housing. We also have our rapid rehousing program, which allows us to provide rental assistance and utility assistance for families in our shelter, which I'll admit helps us move them out in a short time frame because we are able to provide financial assistance to those families. And we also use that rental assistance for families that are in the community who are experiencing homelessness. 2 of our newer programs are employment services. So we have an employment specialist that works with the participants in any of our programs to help them with training that they might need, getting GEDs, getting a certificate program, finding employment, and really looking to help the family earn an income that would allow them to sustain their housing on their own. Because of the experiences our family have had, it's kind of a special niche in employment services because there's lots of obstacles and barriers that our families face. And our most recent program is our prevention program that is working with families who are at risk of becoming homeless. So they might be doubled up, they might have received an eviction notice. And so we work with them in the hopes that they can either stay where they're housed or we can find alternative housing for them so that they don't hit the homeless system. So working to prevent them from living in places that aren't meant for habitation. So a lot of the work that I do is overseeing the programs. So Most of our funding comes either from governments or private foundations, and so there's a lot of outcomes and objectives that we're required to meet on a monthly, quarterly, and yearly basis. So I do a lot of work with our outcomes and ensuring that we are doing the work that our funders are requiring us to do. And because we do receive a lot of outside funding, a large part of my day consists of managing the grants. So ensuring that we're compliant with all of the regulations and requirements for the grants that they look at. And then because I do oversee the programs, I am overseeing the staff, the case management staff that works directly with clients. So there's a lot of supervision with my team and supporting them in what they might need to best serve our clients. And also at times there is some direct client interfacing to solve problems that maybe the case managers weren't able to solve. And then a large part is also developing programs. So looking at the gaps in services that we have and seeing if there's other resources out there to fill those gaps, or is it something that we need to do internally and look for other options or opportunities in order to develop programs that would better assist our families. So I know that this is under the guise of sustainable communities. And so I think that the work that I do and also the work done at an agency level definitely feeds into that, because we are working with the community's most vulnerable families and looking to ensure that they have some sort of permanency. And once that permanency is in place, really working with them to help them sustain. So I know the majority of you on here are either have decided careers or looking to choose majors. And if students are interested in getting involved, you could certainly reach out to our agency if you are looking to volunteer or internship programs. And we could look at what your specific needs are and how it might fit in with our agency. I am watching the time to make sure that I don't run over. I'm not sure, Ryan, were you doing questions after each presenter or at the very end?
Yeah, we were either or, I was going to take them as you were presenting, but certainly we'll probably get through the presentations and then we'll have a Q&A at the end where they can ask any of the speakers questions. Okay.
All right. I just wanted to make sure I saved enough time. So it's difficult being the one to go first. So that is our agency kind of in an overview. The population that we do work with, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned this from the beginning, is we work with families that have at least one minor child in the household. And we do work with all families however they present themselves. So it could be a single father household, single mother. Sometimes we have multi-generational households, same-sex households. So however they present to our agency, if they're presenting as a family unit, then we would work with them to engage them in our services. I'm looking, someone wrote in the chat. Okay, it's not a question, it's just a comment about questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you, I appreciate it. Excellent presentation. And next we will move on to Chelsea from Center for Women.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. It was great to hear Tammy go first, so thank you for that, Tammy. I really love Donning Family Services, and I love the work that you do. So the Center for Women, I am a program coordinator here, as well as a career specialist. We have a variety of different programming that's offered really to everyone in the community, despite our umbrella name of the Center for Women. One of the programmings that I touch on heavily is our Employment Services program. So what we do is we provide individual career coaching to anyone really needing that service. And what that means is helping them develop resumes, cover letters. We do mock interviews. We have an interview closet where they can come in and check out clothing for their interview. We also help eliminate the stress of the job search, which is a lot of what I see with my clients. So having them come in, helping them set goals, maintain accountability, as well as sending different type of jobs that they're looking for. It's a really individualized program, so I can, meet with one person who is just re-entering the workforce at 65, and I can also work with someone on a next day, a recent college graduate who is really trying to enter into the career field, or somebody who's been unemployed since the beginning of the pandemic. I've seen a lot of that as well. So we really aim to make this program very individualized as possible, as well as providing different referral guides to places such as Donning Family Services or to CASA or to any other services that they're really needing. To help kind of eliminate the emotional stress too, searching for a position. So that's my main program. I'm also, because I'm the program coordinator, I also maintain a lot of the outcomes and requirements for our grant funding as well. So collecting all of the data as well as entering it into our different systems and providing that feedback for funding. Another program that I am a program coordinator of is our counseling and wellness services. So we provide individual, couple, and family counseling, and that's offered on a sliding fee scale. The highest range being $50 and the lowest being $15. So we keep that in a very affordable bubble for our clients, as well as providing emotional education and support. So we have support groups online right now, just due to COVID. And we also have different groups that they can join for entrepreneurship, which it leads me into our next program, which is our Women's Business Center. Again, that's offered, all of our programs are offered to anyone, but our Women's Business Center helps entrepreneurs in the area with everything being from the very idea of a business to all the way to searching for providing funding. And we do that not just in Hillsborough County, but Hernando, Pinellas, Pasco. We really expanded on that program. And they work alongside a business coach, very similar to the employability model, in which it's a very individualized relationship with a coach. And you come in with your idea, perhaps, or you're struggling to find funding. And we've helped a lot of local businesses really launch their career in that entrepreneurship. So that's a really exciting program that we do offer, as well as our senior home improvement program. This does have a requirement of being a senior. So anybody who's, we range it at 60 and older. If they own their own home within the city limits, we can provide construction on their home that's a light work. So whether that's being additional grab bars in their home, wheelchair ramps, roof maintain, so things like that. And we really help keep them in the home sustainably. And you'll see that kind of with all of our programs is really focusing on a very sustainable model to make sure, whether it's employment sustainability, emotional wellness sustainability, or housing sustainability, we're really focused on having everyone in our community elevated, empowered, and educated at the most, both in their personal life and professional life. So that's our programs here at the Center for Women. A little bit of background, just quickly from who I am. After I graduated USF, actually, I went on to get my master's and pair that with a 2-year Peace Corps service. I served in Kosovo, teaching grades 1 through 9, and dealing with a lot of gender and advocacy work in Kosovo. My degree is in advocacy for social justice and sustainability, in which I received that at Antioch University of New England. And I thought I was going to be writing policies in DC or in Washington and maybe stay in Boston. But I really wanted to take the skills that I had developed in Peace Corps as well as in my master's degree and bring them to my local communities. So I found my way back to Tampa, and I had worked with many nonprofits overseas. And I just found that in my opinion, at the time, the most work that can be done sustainably for your community really evolved around nonprofit work. So that's where I found myself now. If you have any questions about different majors, I'm very open to that. I work with a lot of different majors as well, and I really feel that this work can be done by and is highlighted by everybody with different backgrounds, which I find very amazing. So that's all I have, but thank you so much.
Alrighty, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Chelsea. Next we have Nathan. He's from Metropolitan Ministries. He's going to present.
All right. So again, my name is Nathan Gula. I am the Director of Volunteer Services over at Metropolitan Ministries. I've been here for about 8 years now, which is not that common for people my age range. I graduated from USF and double majored in psychology and philosophy and minored in political science and gerontology. So, all over the spectrum. And I did a little bit of graduate work since then over at UT in the nonprofit management school. And so, yeah, my career really started there at Metro, and I have absolutely loved it. So I'm going to pull up a presentation. So we'll see if technology works today and if screen share is going to happen. All right, y'all see my screen all right? I'm going to take your silence as a firm yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's working well.
All right, thank y'all. So yes, I'm the Director of Volunteer Services. As you imagine, my world is all about volunteers. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background about Metropolitan Ministries, what we do, and then kind of more specifically about volunteer opportunities and the ways you can get engaged with Metro. Our program is one of the largest volunteer programs in the state of Florida, or right here, just north of downtown Tampa. Annually, pre-pandemic, we will have 27,000 unique individuals who come serve with us on an annual basis. So a lot of people that make this place happen. I always joke that, we don't stand a chance here as far as the staff. There's only like 275 of us, and there's 27,000 volunteers. So they really make this work happen on a day-to-day basis. So this is our mission statement. Our mission is to care for the homeless and those at risk of becoming homeless in our community through services that alleviate suffering, promote dignity, and instill self-sufficiency as an expression of the ongoing ministry of Jesus Christ. So for us, those kind of 3 key values you'll see are nice, big, and bold, really emphasize what we do and guide our programs. We do stuff with housing. We really specialize with homeless families, low-income families. But more than that, it matters kind of how we're doing it. So the first part is that we alleviate suffering. So we look at people's immediate needs, the immediate needs of a single mom with 3 kids who's working a minimum wage job, and what she needs to help have success and get by in the future is very different than, of working with a chronically homeless person who's out on the streets here, living out under the underpass right on 275. So very, very different environments. We're here to alleviate whatever those immediate needs are. The second part is that we promote dignity. So promoting dignity for us, dignity is kind of a, nebulous idea, but we really try and push that into choice and freedom. One of the first things that poverty does is takes away people's options, takes away their ability to make choices that are meaningful for them and meaningful for their families. And so we have a lot of resources and options available for people. We don't tell them you're going to do this, this, and this. We say, here are the resources, here are the options. How can you utilize those to reach your end goals? And the last part, Instilling Self-Sufficiency, is all about those long-term goals. What can we do to make sure that the people who are getting here, who are getting services from us, don't need services in the long term? Now, it's a journey. Our long-term housing, our families will stay with us for a year, and some of them will even go into affordable housing that we run out in the community. So that's a process. It doesn't happen overnight, but we really want to long-term have them be self-sufficient and be able to do that themselves. So our model here at Metro is something called the Sanctuary Model of Trauma-Informed Care. What it really does is looks at and understands the experience of staff, volunteers, interns, our clients that we serve through the lens of trauma and being informed on what that means. One of the simplest ways I like to explain is that instead of asking what is wrong with you, we ask what has happened to you. It's about understanding that there are experiences that people go through that drastically change and mold their behavior in really important ways. And so we want to be informed about that. To give you a really kind of really interesting example of how that might show up in the real world, if you go to an event and there's a big spread of food, you can go and grab whatever you want. If you come from a middle-class background or above, you're probably just going to go and grab a few things, a couple things, nice little treat for yourself. If you come from a background of poverty, you are much more likely to pile on that plate as much as you possibly can. And people who come from a more middle class, more affluent background see that behavior and they're like, gosh, look at that person. Like, they're so rude. They're taking so much. What they find is that people who've been through poverty or food insecurity, even if it's only short term, they develop this sort of survival mindset. Whenever there's plenty displayed in front of them, they tend to take way more than they need. It has nothing to do with a moral judgment against the person. It's that they're reacting to trauma and their life experiences. And so everything that we do at Metro is tries to be trauma informed. We're constantly just learning and growing what that means. So if I could kind of dive into some of the volunteer opportunities and ways y'all can get engaged with what we do. As I mentioned, we are volunteer run. Our outreach center is where families come in to shop for food. So they'll shop, the items are free, but they're able to go through and select different things for their family. They're able to come in once a month and get those items. We also have our warehouses, which is where we sort through all the donations that come in from the community, really just making sure that it's the right stuff for our family. Again, dignity, making sure the items, if they're good enough for your family, they're good enough for our families. If they're not, then they're not. But being able to do that kind of quality control and sorting aspect. Our clothing warehouse and thrift store, likewise, is here on the campus. All the money we raise just goes right back into the ministry. We use a lot of volunteers over there. We have our kitchen that's open from 6 a.m. to 7:30 every single day of the week. So we put out, on an average day, around 3,000 meals that go out to the community all throughout Tampa Bay. So all those meals get made there by volunteers. Our environmental team, which handles kind of special projects, so they'll do mulching around campus, cleaning up trash, taking out, I've had them like break apart a couch with a sledgehammer. I don't know, random things. Whatever needs done, really physical work around the campus, they'll help with that. Residential services is we have an on-campus housing for families. 100 families live on our campus, so it's about 350 to 400 people who live with us. And so they help out the front desk, helping scan temperature checks, helping the residents with room checks or different items they need. We all kind of keep that stocked for those areas for the families who live here. We also have a community garden that we partner with over here in Tampa Heights. And then we also have community partner sites. Those are mainly broken up between Boxes of Hope, which is a bunch of different churches and different organizations across the Tampa Bay area. We help them distribute non-perishable food boxes to families. And so volunteers will come alongside and help that. We also partner with Keystone it's Keystone Farmers Market, which helps us run our community garden here on the campus. So, if you have an interest in sustainable living and helping with potting and fertilizing and watering plants, all that food just goes to outreach so that we can provide fresh vegetables that we prepared right in our garden for our families that we serve. We take group volunteering, tons of groups, families, corporate, school, faith-based, anything you're a part of, people love to come and serve together. And then we even do kind of special projects. So if your group, wants to like, hey, we want to come and like own a specific thing. So the group on the right there, they're like, we want to host a family fun night for your families. And so they came and brought a bunch of equipment. They brought food, snacks, and just hosted a fun night for our families. The one on the left, they're like, hey, your benches and stuff are looking pretty rough out there. And so they came and replaced a bunch of the wood and painted them and did all sorts of stuff like that. So people come on and they want to own a certain piece and really help expand what we do on the campus. I also would highly encourage, especially if you're kind of looking for future career paths, we have a volunteer leader program that looks for at least a 3-hour-a-week commitment for at least 3 months. And that applies in every single department across the ministry. So no matter which area, all of them from working in the kitchen all the way up to, working with our head of finance and working on, anything, all the purchasing and the kind of background stuff she does. Every single role here at Metro, we try to pair a volunteer leader alongside. It's a great way to really get a deep involvement, especially now we're heading towards the holiday season, and that's the kind of the prime time to start that process. So how to sign up to volunteer? Our website's metromin.org. You'll hit the Get Involved button. It'll show you a volunteer option in the drop down and then volunteer opportunities. We have everything listed online, which makes it super, super easy. I run the kind of online postings. So yeah, thank y'all. That pretty much covers Metro and a little intro to what we do.
Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate that. Our last presenter is going to be Callie from Habitat for Humanity.
Hello, and I hope that you all can see me properly. My internet from my computer has just been shoddy all day today, so I'm coming to you live from my cell phone. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Ryan, maybe you can help if I can in and out.
Yep, coming in clear.
Be my guide here.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, my name's Callie Lupica. I'm the Volunteer Services Director for our program here in Hillsborough County. I'm sure as many people maybe know our brand name, that's what I love to refer to it because we are an international brand at this point. We're in over 70 countries and we have over 230 affiliates in the US alone. And we're one of the 13th largest. So we're here in Florida. We dive specifically into the need here in Hillsborough County, so in Tampa Bay. I wanted to touch quickly on, I'm so glad I went last. I'm sure that's what everybody says, but I love going last because I've listened now to all these different nonprofits and what their missions are and what area of poverty that they focus on and what services they provide. And I think anybody in this chat or in this Zoom or this Teams call today that's either debating whether or not which nonprofit piques your interest for volunteer or career-wise, this has a really great display because we serve a variety of low income to poverty levels. And that is exactly what you need to consider, especially when you're going on the career side of things. Habitat, it's sometimes hard to explain because a lot of people think that the homes that we build, which I'll dive into in a minute, are given away to the poor or given away to those that cannot afford them. That is not what we do. We actually serve a very particular population of each community of families that partner with us for the affordable housing option. So many families in many communities across the world and across the United States don't have the opportunity to become homeowners simply because of certain qualifiers that would not allow them to either take on a home mortgage or a loan. For example, that loan interest rate might be sky high based on their credentials, or their credit score might not be available, or that the loan that they're looking for because of their family size is too high. And that's what we mean by affordable housing. And Habitat's mission is seeking, simple, decent housing for all. We're a hand up, not a handout, as I'm sure many good nonprofits in this chat would also say is very similar to what their services provide. They provide basically an option for resiliency, teaching a man to fish, teaching a woman to fish, and giving these families in this area these tools for success and helping them from start to finish. It's not just handing them something and saying good luck. It is definitely about teaching them how to utilize those tools to the best of what their ability and their situation is, seeing them from start to finish, watching them apply, watching them get hired, all of that. And I love that for everything. I love going last because it seems like you all now have a bit of a good limelight on each individual sector of low income to poverty, services. And so for Habitat, we build houses from the ground up for families here in Hillsborough County area, and we partner with them to provide that simple, decent housing. We offer volunteer experiences to come out and physically build on the home or in one of our Habitat restores, which if nobody's ever heard of, it's actually like a home goods thrift store. So they're always in need of volunteers with a retail mind to help sort through household donations. We don't take clothing or shoes. We're much more housing item centric. So furniture, appliances, ceiling fans, lighting, you name it, anything that you might find in your home is actually donated as secondhand and we sell to the public. So it's a great thrift store find. I always consider it as feel-good shopping because 100% of the proceeds goes back into the mission. So much so that we have a goal for 30 homes this year to build for our fiscal year by July 1st of next year. And we also have houses that we need to catch up on from the pandemic year when we weren't able to bring volunteers. And the restores we make from the stores, we are able to fund a third of that goal. So simply what we make from 3 different restores in the Hillsborough County area help to fund about 10 homes per year, which I think is pretty awesome because I feel like it's us also supporting ourselves through a very creative way. And also we save about 2 million tons in the last 2 years off of our Hillsborough County landfills. So we're saving the world too. So when it comes to partnering with us, I mean, I'm pretty much your one-stop shop when it comes to an internship opportunity, a volunteer opportunity, or where to find part or full-time job opportunities. Really, when it comes to making a nonprofit your career, I have also, I think it was, is it Tammy that had these wonderful degrees? And Tammy, if you can come off mute for 2 seconds, what were your degrees in? What were your certifications?
I was straight up social work, so it was the second speaker, and I apologize if I did not catch your name.
Oh, that's okay.
From the center.
Oh,
Chelsea.
Chelsea, thank you.
Hi, yeah. So I have a master's in advocacy for social justice and sustainability.
Wonderful. So you can see there's a lot of different, you say that you work with a number of degrees that come your way looking for either volunteer or career paths. So do we. I just like to use you as an example because I have a psychology degree. I thought I was going to go into clinical and counseling. I got an internship my senior year with Habitat Hillsborough, which just happened to be down the street from the university. I could walk there. I could, fit it in between classes, and I ended up loving the admin side of it and the project management side. So I really love nonprofit management, and actually without a degree went ahead into that. And kind of when I asked my CEO why she thought maybe I would be a great candidate for the full-time position as I was graduating, she said, one of your biggest assets is you know how to speak our mission. And that's huge. So as you start your volunteer experience or you're coming away from your college years, not sure how to go into your next step as a career, start volunteering in the admin office, start finding opportunities for internships, whether they're paid or unpaid. I did unpaid and partnered it with a hostess job. You can do it. And I ended up having like 3 or 4 jobs at once. And I got used to talking I just regurgitated facts that I picked up from the Habitat mission and attended conferences that talked about, our mission, our founder's philosophy. And after a while, I was sort of just spitting it out off the cuff at events and networking events with my coworkers. And eventually that really gave me a great leg up on other candidates to talk about the mission and it had those basic admin skills. So anybody that's looking maybe for basic admin skills in the nonprofit sector, please let me know. I'd be happy to help guide you in what my experience was. I actually help with resumes at University of Tampa, which is my alma mater, to kind of direct you in that and what I think those of us that do the interview process are looking for. So I think that's a little bit about me. I know I went more into the career in the volunteer side of working with Habitat. I have a lot of specifics about what we do, but I think the biggest one is that we're affordable housing, and we have families partner with us to achieve their goal of home ownership, and that is in all we have our hands in all types of cookie jars. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you, appreciate that. So we've come to the discussion phase of, today's presentation. And I think we can just kind of do it as a panel discussion, if all 4 of you want to just kind of be present, on camera or whatnot. And we can just kind of, whoever wants to answer, that's fine. And for the students in the chat, feel free to either raise your hand or you can ask a question in the chat. I also have some stock questions here if we need to get the discussion going. But I think, as these are a lot of exploratory and undecided students kind of trying to figure out what career path they might want to go on, how would you say that your undergraduate major has contributed to the work that you do for your respective organizations?
Maybe I'll take that, or I even see Nathan came off mute, so Nathan and I both have.
We're both eyeing each other like, who's doing it first? Yeah.
First, I'll
go first. I'll follow.
Pretty much for me, as I mentioned, like Chelsea's got some great degrees and great certifications and what qualified her for her work. In my experience, I did not know what I wanted to do, maybe similar as to many of you. And so I just a college degree really helped me just sort of take those few years to figure out what I did and did not like, what I wanted to look further into. I actually see a lot of my psychology for business and nonprofit management, as well as I did a quick deep dive into international sociology, so different cultures impacting their perspective on major conflicts in today's world. And it really helps me more in the networking sense and bringing new volunteers and new corporations to our mission, so I can kind of talk to anybody for that fact. So that really helped me. Anybody that might want to partner a psychology degree with them, I highly suggest it.
Yeah, I also was someone who highly didn't know what I wanted to do. I changed majors multiple times. I ended up graduating with psychology and philosophy and double minoring in gerontology and political science. It was just all over the place. So if you're in that boat, don't feel bad. I think that no matter what, it's more about learning how to think and how to ask good questions. I think will take you farther as a leader than anything else. And I think college helps really define that, prepare you for that. There are some very specific degrees where, if you're going for that specific thing, but I will say in my time in nonprofit work, it feels like every single person I talk to has a different major. They're the people who actually have the specific degree in the thing they're in is definitely a minority. So find something you're passionate about, something that you love, and get the degree and then go for it. That's all I would say.
I would chime in and add to that. I know that there's probably all of us felt pressure from our parents to choose a major, choose a career, and go and do that forever. But I think that, even for myself, mine was, social work kind of all the way. But at one point in the midst of things, there was a 5-year period where I got a master's in teaching English as a second language and did that while I was in Costa Rica. And so I've jumped out of the field and I've jumped back into the field. And as cliche as it sounds, I think you really need to go after what you love and what you're passionate about, with the understanding that you might do that and you might only love or be passionate for that for 5-10 years and then switch gears. And that's okay. You don't need to decide today what you're doing for the rest of your life. It's just, what am I doing today for my next step?
All righty.
Quickly onto that. So great, because do you see, I'm even going to ask Tammy a question. Do you see your teaching degree helping you in today's career path?
Oh, absolutely. I think every little crazy thing I've done in my life, even working in college at bars and working in retail and, everything I've done has helped me in my professional career, because you take those skills from working with clients to having to be organized to dealing with customers. And teaching definitely taught me just kind of also a different mindset as people are struggling to learn a new language.
I was going to say, I totally agree with what you're saying, because we as nonprofit leaders are probably asked to wear many, many different hats and execute all of that at once, which would be my biggest suggestion to those of you looking to go into this work, in this field, because it's incredibly exciting. I personally almost have this career ADD where I love doing something different every minute, every day. It never gets dull. You never feel like your work is not working towards some goal or helping somebody, or like you're monotonous just sitting at a desk punching numbers or punching keys. There's always a point, and it can be overwhelming, but I think, as everybody here could probably agree with me, there's always some kind of passion behind it too.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. And as always, just a reminder for the students, feel free, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand or drop it in the chat. And sort of going along with the undecided, theme here, do you have one piece of advice that you'd have for an undergraduate who's looking to choose a major now? I know we kind of touched on that, but for instance, does it matter specifically what major they choose in your line of work in nonprofits?
Yeah, so really just echoing kind of what everyone on the panel has said. I definitely agree. When I graduated USF, I studied environmental policy and criminal justice. So it was I thought I was going to go to law school. That was the next move. Took the LSAT, applied, hated it, and then found my way into, I think I just had a passion of I wanted to, make a difference or change something or be somewhere, part of an organization or part of something that was making my community better. And I think you can do that with any degree, whether that's a business degree, a philosophy degree, a psychology degree. And again, like Tammy had mentioned, it's the experiences as we bring. So, her teaching in Costa Rica, she now has this lens of being an educator, which, that's the first step into any really conversation that we have in nonprofit is how do we educate not only our coworkers, but ourselves and our community. So having that lens is amazing as well. So again, it's these experiences that you will have throughout maybe your first internship or your first job. Think even how to navigate communications with managers or conflict. That all is important. So what Nathan had mentioned, pick something you're passionate about, go for that, and then find a way to make that work for you in your long-term career.
I think just a little bit expanding on what Chelsea said was that I think it's very important to get out and have experiences. So whether you volunteer at an agency you think you would like, or whether it's you think you're interested in mechanics and so you tinker with it on the weekend, but just get out and try things. And I think with social media, it makes it a lot easier to find those opportunities that are out there. So one, it's getting out there to see if you like it, but also two, if you do like it, it gives you experience when you do graduate, because the toughest thing you'll run up against is they won't hire you because you don't have any experience, or they won't hire you because you have too much experience. It's like, okay, I have no experience, but someone has to give me my first job. And so I know as someone that's in a hiring role a lot, I really value people that have had experience, whether it comes through a mission they did with the church, whether they volunteered, just showing that someone has been out there and explored and tried different things goes a long way for me when I'm hiring people.
Yeah, I would like to mirror that as well, that, I do a lot of hiring for my frontline coordinators, which are almost the vast majority of them that apply are fresh out of college, and the majors are all over the place. So I would say, don't worry too much on the major you pick. I know it sounds kind of odd when probably a lot have been told to you of like, you need to pick this exact major. And there are definitely career paths where that's the case, but nonprofit is not one of them. It's more the development of those quote unquote soft skills that I think are so valuable. So that kind of work in an office environment, if you can, volunteer somewhere, or internship or whatever have you, and spend more time developing your soft and social skills, will pair really well with your education. That's what I would probably encourage more than anything else that I see is missing from new grads that I hire.
And I'm going to jump on that too. As a college student, I didn't have a lot of funds to spend on professional development. I couldn't pay for a lot of books. I couldn't pay for professional trainings. I do know for a fact that USF and UT both have a lot of free resources through the Careers and Development Leadership Center that they offer to students that are about professional development or basic business courses, should you choose. If you're just like, I need to pick something that will really benefit you in all sections of your life. With my psychology degree, I did pair it with a couple of like business classes that helped with just understanding. Oh yeah, I think I did a speech for business class, and talk about something that even just gave me more practice in speaking in front of a crowd, taking action, being a leader, seeing a project from start to finish that wasn't just about getting it done for the grade. Dressing business casual, going out and networking and being more yourself. Really and I'm currently about to go through this. I'm about to hire, because I moved from the coordinator to the director position. I'm going to be hiring a new coordinator, and a lot of the stuff I'm looking for are basic business skills. I don't want to micromanage somebody. In fact, I'm taking them on because I need help with what I already have. I have a personal passion for young development. For young professional development. So our internship program, there are certain positions for basic beginners that don't even know how to fax or scan or send a professional email. In fact, many times I have sat for an hour with my intern talking about how you pick up the phone, introduce yourself, what your mission is, why you're calling, and get proper information. And they've even freaked out and put the phone down and we had to call them back. So it's okay. And I'm sure everybody's laughing, and it's okay. We're laughing with you if that has ever happened to you. I'm sure it's happened to all of us who can remember those days. Eventually it's a pop and you're like, I can't believe that was 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, right? But these little skills will put you light years ahead of your other candidates. If you can write a professional email, pick up the phone, if you dress well in the office, if you know how to speak eloquently about your point, then that will really, really put you just above the cuff for everybody.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Really good discussion. Okay, moving on to the next question here. What would you say is the best and also the hardest part of your current position?
I'd like to answer that one. I love a lot of things about my position. I like the data portion. I like being able to, go to outreach events, things like that as a program coordinator. But the best part is I get to work directly with clients. So I'm very lucky in that aspect. Providing career support and, having clients and watching them grow and develop through our sessions has been truly amazing. I would say the hardest part about my position, and it's even something I like and admire sometimes, but often it's difficult. So Callie had mentioned earlier that in nonprofit, you wear a lot of hats. And boy, is that true. So as a program coordinator for 2 different departments, I also handle, a lot of their outreach. I handle a lot of their social media. Even sitting on the front desk once a week because somebody hasn't been able to come in, you really do have to know every single bit and piece of your organization. So I think that was something I never experienced before in my previous work. Upon entering nonprofit, I did not realize that you really do. It's an all-in position. So you should know what everyone else's job is and how you can fill in at any certain time.
I'll go next. I'll say we'll go bad and then go positive. The worst part of my job and something that's taken a lot of time to develop is the communication and relation between other departments, because especially I work in volunteer services, we have volunteers everywhere. And so because of that, the issues that crop up everywhere come back to us. And it's those things you don't have control of in the work environment, and how do you navigate those relationships well and still hold what you value. So I think that's the hardest part, is still navigating those relationships with other departments, and when those conversations are difficult. I've had a million difficult conversations in my time, I feel like, already, but you will have a million more, and I feel like I never quite get used to it. And then on the positive, I spend a lot of my days just talking to people who love what we do and are passionate and volunteer their time. Like, how awesome is that? Like, seriously, people spend so much time on the other end listening to people complain about things. I get to listen to people like, oh, I love that you're doing this. And oh my gosh, this was so amazing. And how can I get involved with this? And you see people just come alive and get to see like what really matters to them and really hear their story. And that's just, I don't know, you can't trade for that. It's really, really cool.
So I'll bring out the ugly first. I think that this is the piece in nonprofits that no one likes to talk about. I think one of the most difficult pieces for me is that when you are a nonprofit, now nonprofit doesn't mean you don't have money. So that's just want to put that disclaimer out there. But the majority of my staff are grant funded positions. And so there's always that concern when a grant is ending. It's my job to find those grants, to find that money, because I, don't want to have to lay off staff. So for me, I think that that's in the role that I'm in leadership. That's kind of always the difficult part, is that you always feel like you're chasing money. So that's the piece that I don't like. But the piece that I do love, and which is why I keep chasing the money, is the clients. I mean, it's great. I don't have day-to-day interface with clients Unfortunately, sometimes I do because something's gone wrong, so it gets escalated to me, but not always. But really, that is the best piece, and that's what keeps you driven. And sometimes it's just a little email from a client that said, "Thank you, you changed my life." And those might not come through often, but they're enough to keep you going to the next one. So it's definitely, if you're in the nonprofit world, it's a passion, and it truly is client driven. And so for me, that's the best part, is seeing the changes that we make in the lives of families.
And I'll add too, just to sum up this question, is I agree. I'll go positive and then negative, since we did both of those. But with just to chime in with Tammy and everybody, I think, of course, the best part is the interface with the community that we serve. That direct relation to knowing exactly what you do today will impact tomorrow. There is nothing that you do that feels redundant or useless. So you definitely feel like you're always working towards some goal. And it's even better when you finally achieve that goal after 4 months, 6 months, or a year. Definitely sometimes a year for some of us. It takes that long to to apply for the grant, get the grant, apply the funds towards what department that needs it the most, and then basically report on it within the year or 2 years, how long that grant lasts for. So it sometimes takes a lot of work for the end result to really benefit a lot of families. My personal positive is the autonomy. I don't really know anybody else. I'm 25. I don't really have a lot of other friends that say that they have complete say over their department or what happens today or tomorrow. I feel very free, like very trusted. And you can't find that in all positions. You really can't. So I feel very trusted, and like I have a good head on my shoulders, which is very self positive. It makes you feel really good at the end of the day, knowing that if you build some of these basic skill sets, then you will have a lot of autonomy and a lot of say over what happens in your department and in your nonprofit. On the negative side of that, maybe it's definitely very kind of like flatlands. Like there is almost like no end in sight, or no real guidance sometimes, and that's really up to your leaders. So my CEO, my direct boss, which is our CDO, Chief Development Officer, who deals more in large money grants and large funds, large donations. Thankfully, I have a wonderful boss who's very communicative. So picking your positions and picking who you work for, definitely make sure that you always, as a young professional, want to say, I want here, or I want, do they want me? Maybe is a better way. Do they want me? Do they want my resume? Am I the most qualified candidate? You also want to ask yourself, do you want them? Do you have proper leadership, proper structure, proper end goals? So that was something I asked myself in the beginning, thanks to my own boss saying, is this something you want? And sometimes you need to make sure that you have that, because in the beginning, they basically handed me a program and said, restructure. And oftentimes you get misconstrued for IT or for general questions throughout the entire department. I remember when I was restructuring my department, they say we need now an online platform to do volunteer tracking. I have never onboarded a new platform ever. I've barely created a website. You should see my Facebook. It's trash. It's horrible. I think I have 4 photos on there. So being handed something and just expecting to do it, make sure that you clearly tell them what you can do and where you need more training. Not that you can't do it, because that's my biggest problem. I hate saying no, but where I need the training, and make sure they provide you the training necessary. And there are free and paid for platforms to get that training that you need, especially tons of resources for nonprofits.
Awesome, great responses. I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 more, but the next one, what is the company culture like at your organization?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I know there's no like raise hand feature. Anyway, yeah, so I will say that one thing that I really enjoy, and just to kind of mirror what Callie said, one of the things about the culture at Metro, since I mentioned in the presentation, like we're very trauma informed and really try and carry that through in how we interact with each other as well as our clients. There's just such an openness to talk about problems, to work through problems, to communicate across the teams. especially like Metro is kind of like a big small, because like we are a really big name here in the Tampa Bay, but we were just founded, in Tampa. We're not a big national nonprofit or international even. And so, with managing several hundred employees and the different competing needs, there's just a really good culture around knowing that whatever happens, like other teams will step in and help you if you really need it, and that we'll communicate when things fall across. One of the things that I love is we have a internal project management team and process improvement team that actually, like, their almost sole role is like getting multiple teams together to figure out, okay, like, how can this thing work across, this solution work across multiple teams, and really pulling those conversations and not siloing things as much. And it's just a really great work culture. I love it. It's very understanding and very gracious, if I would describe it in one way.
I'll jump in. I love the culture at the agency where I work at. I have been in nonprofits for over 25 years, and I have to say the team that I have now is the best team that I've ever worked with. And I feel very fortunate about that. And in terms of wearing many hats, everyone at my agency is always willing to pitch in. A couple weeks ago, the CEO was trying to plunge the toilet because she was the one that saw it overflowing, and so everyone pitches in and does what needs to get done. And I also think that we work with families of all shapes and sizes, but the reality is the majority of the population we work with are single moms. And so we see that the struggles they go through in terms of being a single parent or any working parent, the struggles that they go with, and sometimes losing jobs or income because a child's sick. And so we really strive to be an agency that is allowing families the flexibility to meet their family needs and have a work-life balance, because we don't want to be just another spoke in that problematic wheel where, staff is in trouble or suspended or whatever the case may be because their child had to quarantine for 14 days because of COVID. It's like, no problem, work from home. And so we really are trying to be a change agent as well as not only as a nonprofit agency, but also as an employer. So I feel very fortunate to be where I'm at.
I feel like I, but if you can't tell, I'm very passionate about our nonprofit and about everyone here for a fellow nonprofit to meet other coordinators and leaders in their directive field. So it's cool to meet everybody and all the students that are interested. Our culture is just exactly what everybody has said so far. It's very passionate, driven. Everybody's sort of on the same page. I started with a team that all started really at the same time, give or take a couple employees. We kind of had a bad reputation about 7 years ago, and then with a leader, I think, that maybe didn't understand the team, and then CEO Tina Swain, who is a rambunctious woman with a lot of heart for her team and for the mission that came from real estate and from banking. So she really had a great business sense herself. That really turned the team around, and everybody, she kind of just had, if you ever been in a leadership kind of class, leaders fire, and leaders end up hiring the staff, capable staff. They don't hire everybody that needs training. They hire people that have that personality to drive themselves. And so she absolutely did that. She hired a bunch of us all at once. And we've increased. I mean, like Tammy said, not all nonprofits deal with no money. A lot of us are big, some of us are small, but do well in our areas. For example, I think our net revenue is about $3 to $5 million a year, and that's just from individual sponsors and from help from international. So the culture is really about how many more families can we grow? How many more can we help? How many what are we missing? Everybody is very driven to figure out what are we still missing and how can we address that and how can we grow. So if you find that you're a very driven, growth-minded person that loves to do a lot of different things at once, nonprofits are for you.
Awesome. Great answers. Well, we're ending sort of towards the end of the session today. So I just wanted to thank Nathan, Chelsea, Tammy, and Callie for joining us today, sharing their experiences. Is it if students have questions, is it okay if they're able to, reach out to you, just to follow up? Awesome.
Absolutely.
Cool. I do appreciate that, and it is really impactful work that really is shaping our local community. So I am appreciative for that and sharing your time. So thanks everyone for joining, and have a great day.
Have a good one.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having
Mhm.